One of the main things that I got comment in the comment section on my channel is how fat I am and I should not be making videos, or how obese I am and how do I even sit up long enough to make a video. Other than that, I get like the balanced diet thing, and I can't stand the whole idea of a balanced diet because it's so erroneous. It's not even funny. So I wanted to make a video about that. It's an impossibility. You would literally have to somehow know how to test exactly what you needed every day, and you would literally have to test every food item that you ate every day. It's just erroneous. So this is not going to be as an exciting video as I made in the last video, which I will link probably at the end here. But this whole idea of this really kind of started with this book, The Diet for a Small Planet. And it talked about food combinations and how you needed complete proteins. This came out, I think it was 1971. This is the 20th anniversary. So 1971, this came out. And in the 1970s, our wonderful Senate started talking about nutrition. And I think McConnell was in charge of this. I think it was his name. It was Mick something. Was in charge of creating this whole thing within Congress. And then all of a sudden we get the food pyramid, which came out in 1992, I believe. When did 1992? So this comes out 1992. So we got this kind of sparked the idea for the RDAs to be created in the Senate, our government, whatever, America. Then the food pyramid comes out in 1992, which, do we have an image of that? Is kind of not really readable, but it's basically bread, vegetables, meat, dairy, and whatever, donuts and cookies. Here's this idea. So this kind of goes along with this book here. So the Diet for a Small Planet, and my video here is eventually going to tie into the balanced diet and protein and blah, blah, blah. You see all the tabs up here. We're going to go over this stuff. If you should watch the whole thing, and if you do, you'll get the message of the whole video. If the video gets enough likes, I will maybe make it more in-depth, because we kind of are living in the AI overview in this video, just because I don't feel like taking another 8 hours to make another video. But the complete protein myth, is that you need to combine all these different food items to get your complete protein, and protein. This was coming from a time, people think that this high protein consumption is a new thing. It's not. It's like mid to late 1800s into basically now. And it has proven to be not good. Obesity has climbed since this whole notion of excess nitrogen being introduced into the diet is a good thing. So here's the food pyramid, and I already looked that up. So obesity, I want to look up. So since the food pyramid has come around, and this idea of balanced diet and complete proteins and blah, 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 and the food pyramid, some argue that the food pyramid's emphasis on carbohydrates and demonization of fats might have inadvertently encouraged high carbohydrate consumption to reduce physical activity. I don't know how that would be the case, because most doctors now tell you to work out as much as you possibly can and eat a piece of lettuce, leading to weight gain. However, others argue that the pyramid itself is not the main cause of obesity epidemic, as many Americans don't follow the dietary guidelines it suggests, and other factors like increased calorie consumption. I love this one. We are told in America that you're fat, lazy, and disgusting, and that you should not eat anything. You should hate yourself, and you should work out more, and eat less. Okay, so I wanted to look up the idea of this increase in calories. So I typed in modern day, what is the average calorie intake for adult men, basically. So between 3,200 and 3,200 calories. And then we find down here, is 1,500 calories enough for a man? AI overview. So I don't know where they got it from. And again, this is not any scientific anything, but it's pulling it from something. For men, 1,500 calories per day can be enough for weight loss, especially if they are overweight or obese. Then I typed in average calorie consumption of a male in 1940. It was 3,400 calories, no obesity. And why would that be? Why would that be? They didn't have a food pyramid back then. What were they eating? You know, I didn't look that up. I guess I have looked that up in the past, and basically, spoiler alert, it's fat, carbohydrates with a little bit of protein. Protein has been expensive its entire existence. You high off the hog, like royalty ate a lot of beef because it was expensive until this mass farming has gone on. So, with some areas seeing intakes as low as 1,000. So during World War II, some areas thought 1,000 to 1,600 calories for adult males. Now, what happened? If you don't know this, and they are trying to remove this from being seen, what happened in areas in Europe, Eurasia, when the calorie count went to 1,000 to 1,600? They had issues with cannibalism. They had people starving to death on these 1,000 to 1,600 calories a day. And then they had the other people said, well, we could bury them or we could eat them. And they were eating them. And that's what happened on 1,000 to 1,600 calories. That is literally why they did the Minnesota starvation experiment, the Carnegie experiment, and a couple of others. They're trying to figure out what would cause a human being to become cannibalistic. It was 1,000 to 1,600 calories a day. And now they're saying, well, it would be fine. They literally created every disease pretty much known to man by putting people in the starvation experiments on a calorie of 1,540 calories a day. They were seeing all of these diseases that we're seeing nowadays on starvation. So they're telling this person, the average man, 2,200 now to 3,400, where in 1940 it was 3,400. And we got to remember, this is for somebody who I think the average weight was 158 pounds on a 5'9" man, because male is animals. By definition, a man and woman are human, male and female refers to animals. 3,400 calories. When they hit 1,000 to 1,600 calories, they were going cannibalistic. And if you don't believe me, go read at what happened. I think it was Leningrad and a bunch of other places in Russia, a bunch of other Ukraine, starvation issues going on. Cannibalism was very common there. All over. Stalin. I'm not going to go into all of this, but Stalin and Hitler, if they were touching that land, there was cannibalism everywhere because people were living on 1,000 to 1,600 calories a day. And now they are telling you that that's normal. And, by the way, go exercise 2 hours a day. So I wanted to look into this balanced diet a little more. This is this section of the video. So glycogen. Glycogenesis is the process by which the body converts excess glucose into glycogen, a stored form of glucose primarily in the liver and the muscle tissues. Gluconeogenesis, on the other hand, is the process of producing glucose from non-carbohydrate sources, primarily in the liver and the kidneys, to maintain blood glucose levels, especially during fasting or periods of low carbohydrate intake. Does the body make protein out of carbohydrates? No. The human body cannot directly convert carbohydrates into protein. Does the body turn fat into glycogen? No. The body cannot directly turn fat into glycogen. Does the body turn glycogen into fat? Yes. Excess glycogen can be converted into fat if carbohydrate intake exceeds energy needs and glycogen stores are full. Why is that important? It's important because your body treasures glucose so much that it will turn excess fat and excess protein into glucose. But it doesn't do the reverse of that. It doesn't turn carbohydrates into protein or amino acids or fatty acids. It doesn't do it. So this idea of a balanced diet, how would you possibly know how much protein, fat, carbohydrates that you need. But if you eat too much protein and fat, it will turn it into glycogen. Does the body burn excess glycogen by creating heat? Yes, the body can burn excess glycogen, a form of stored sugar, and the process of breaking it down can generate heat. Why is that important? Because if you have extra, it is going to do that before it's going to turn it into fat. How many calories over do you need to go to turn glycogen into fat? Your body can store between 1,500 to 2,000 calories in an untrained body a day extra. If it can store 1,500 calories extra of glycogen, and they're telling you to eat, 1,500 calories a day, you are just meeting the requirement for the storage of glycogen for the day. You're just meeting that. 1,500 to 2,000 calories. So we got people back in the day who were much smaller height-wise than we are now and fat-wise, eating 3,400 calories, and then when they go to 1,000 to 1,600 calories a day, they become cannibals. And now we're trying to tell fat people to live on that a day. And when you do that, you're going to tell your body, oh, we don't even have enough extra to store our 1,500 to 2,000 calories extra as glycogen. Let's start storing this as fat. We know you won't have any energy, but at least we'll survive. And so this idea of this balanced diet and the calorie restriction really starts wreaking havoc, because a lot of people then start eating extra protein because they're like, well, my muscles will start fading away if I eat extra protein. And another thing that I was thinking about when I'm recording this, or when I'm editing this, let's open this back up. If your body can store 1,500 to 2,000 calories of glycogen, and it pretty much does that a day from what I've seen over the years of doing this, imagine how many calories over that you would have to go for your body to start storing glycogen or your sugar as fat. Because this process already is expensive in many, many different ways. Where did I have that? Gluconeogenesis. It's not preferred. It's not preferred to store this in the fat, and it's not preferred for your body to turn other things into glucose. But imagine this whole thing. I mean, average 3,400 calories, and now it's 22 to 3,200. What happened? And people were smaller back then in 1940. They were shorter, and they were more slender. And then this book comes around, and all this other stuff comes around, and it's ridiculous. Think about how many calories. There was a study, and McDougall used to reference this. I asked him for it in email, but he's gone, so I don't think he's going to send it. But there was a study, and I'm not huge into studies, but there was a study that showed these women were given 1,500 calories extra a day of just plain sugar. It was either in the form of candy. I think it was on. I think it's on highdoot.me or whatever his website is. Georgi Dinkov. But they were given 1,500 calories extra a day of sugar. It was either in the form of candy or just sugar, or I think they could like use fizzy drinks or something like that. And these women were told not to change their diet at all. They were just given this instructions, 1,500 calories extra of sugar a day. And after 3 months of doing this, the most anybody gained was 1/4 of a pound. I mean, that right there shows that 1,500 calories. Where is that one? Man. It's on one of these. 1,500 calories. I got so many things open. Anyway, 1,500 to 2,000 calories a day that your body can store. Think about how many calories you would have to eat and how hard it is to do. It's very hard to do. when you're just eating pure sugar or glucose or whatever it is. It's very hard to get calories. Like that video I did a long time ago before I even moved here. It was, I think it's 2.5 pounds is the equivalent of 9.5 pounds or 9.25 pounds of potatoes calorie wise. I mean, this is why people get cured when they go on carnivore or keto. They're actually eating. The body needs calories. And what's happening is because they haven't been eating, like especially the ones coming off vegan, I guarantee these people have been trying to live off of nothing, especially in this community, because people don't realize just how much eating it takes. So think about the amount of calories extra and how basically people have been living in starvation mode, myself included. Like I really struggle half the time. Like that day that I was talking about the calories that I had eaten, the day before that, I ate like half of that because I just don't feel like eating every day all the time. Think about this. It's crazy how many calories you have to eat. And then that's why when people go from vegan to keto carnivore, they're cured because they're actually eating. And then they're going through their gluconeogenesis and turning everything into carbohydrates that's extra. But that's a very toxic process, as I've shown here in my AI overview. But still, I have made videos about this in the past. Anyways, think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Really. Anyway. So how glycogen is linked to heat generation. That's another thing. I guess I can link this down below. I don't really need to read this. But they basically found that your body naturally burns. Where was the thing? Okay, I'll read this part. In this surprise discovery, they report that the browning of fat cells depends on their ability to both make and then degrade glycogen. The turnover of glycogen sends a signal that it is safe for the cell to uncouple the protein or the production of ATP, the molecule that provides the energy that fuels most cellular processes. Uncoupling is a way to generate heat and in the process help balance energy. This pathway thus ensures that only the fat cells with enough energy stores to fuel the generation of heat are allowed to do so. The dramatic increase in worldwide obesity, 650 million people or 13%, a tripling since 1975, since all this nonsense has come around, has underscored the importance of understanding how the body balances energy intake and expenditure. Glycogen regulates and promotes fat metabolism. The higher the levels, the more robust the metabolic process, essentially burning fat quicker with resulting weight loss in obese mice. Again, if it's mice, so I don't know how that relates to us. In humans, the genes involved in these complex processes were found to be lower in patients who are obese or prone to weight gain, so suggesting that the glycogen pathway is needed in fat cells to burn off excess weight. The new findings, wrote the authors, suggest that modulating glycogen metabolism fat cells might provide new approaches for weight loss and overall important improvement in metabolic health. However, if you're going to be putting these people on a 1,500 calorie a day or 1,200 calorie a day diet, they don't even have enough extra to store what the body actually wants to store in the way of glycogen. So it's not going to do this process. You're just going to store it as fat, and you're just going to keep getting fatter. And then you are like, holy shit, I'm getting fatter. Let me over-exercise. So then you're creating this unbalanced adrenaline and cortisol. I kept wanting to say catabolism, but catabolic cortisol, because you're creating a fight or flight in your body. It is starving itself. You can't sleep, blah, blah, blah. And then you make a video about trying to get some extra calories in because you haven't eaten in a few days, and people come on your comment section and they're like, well, you ate like 7,000 or 8,000 calories yesterday. Meanwhile, it wasn't even close to that, but go figure out how to calculate calories and come back. It's ridiculous. I go through this all the time because I don't really care for eating. I don't crave food at all. So there's 1,500 calories, and then I'll have a day where I eat more, and then accidentally make a video about that, God forbid. And everybody, the calorie calculator warriors come on here and blah, 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 blah. I just started blocking people because I'm getting so tired of it. This is a huge problem. This has been a huge problem. It's clear that it's been a huge problem because the epidemic of obesity is insane. Now, it's not just food. I mean, you look at the towers that we got going on around now. We got to lower the temperature of the earth for some reason because global warming is like nonsense. This nonsense bullshit with the claiming that the earth is getting warmer. Like we know, we've been tracking it for 100 years, but somehow they're experts. If you look at soil samples, this has happened many times. Also, cooling has happened many times. Like, get over yourself. This is nothing but a way of collecting more taxes and claiming they're helping thing. I saw something the other day that the raise in emissions in the total atmosphere right now is like 0.3 or 0.4%. And the guy who was giving the presentation was asked what would happen if we went down to 0.2% of this carbon emission thing that he was talking about. And he's like, well, nothing would survive on the planet. So we're at 0.3 where we're exactly supposed to be. In 0.2, we would be gone. But somehow global warming is happening. We got to spray the earth and blah, blah, blah. So we got all that going on. And then we got, back in the day, 3,400 calories is normal for a human man. And now it's 1,500 calories a day if you're fat, 2,200 to 3,200. No wonder coffee is so popular. The stuff is toxic. It tastes terrible. I don't care what anybody says. And everybody's addicted to it. No wonder they're addicted to it. You're eating minimally 200 calories less a day than they used to, and you're bigger. And probably like 1,900 calories less because you're fat and you hate yourself and you want to exercise. And then you go exercise. Meanwhile, the 1,500 calories a day is what your body is supposed to be storing just in your muscles. And everybody's like, okay, I've got no energy. I can't get anything done. I mean, you look at this whole starvation thing is everywhere. Everywhere. And then you get this mass depopulation of the planet going on, especially in Asia, where they used to eat like crazy. If you watch the old anime and manga and stuff like that, I mean, those people used to joke about how much they ate. Now that there's like 75% of males in Japan are virgins. Like, what? Unreal. It's unreal. I mean, back when I was going to high school, most people were not even a virgin anymore by the time they hit 14. And now it's like, then what was my next question? Is gluconeogenesis taxing on the body? And yes, of course it is. Gluconeogenesis can be taxing on the body, particularly when it's elevated or prolonged. And what is going to prolong that is going on keto and carnivore. And everybody's like, well, I mean, look at some of these people that are having like heart attacks and strokes, and everybody's pushing it so hard. These agendas these days is insane. Insane. And of course you lose weight faster. Your body is like malfunctioning. It's starving itself. Of course you're losing weight. You're literally putting yourself through this 1,000 to 1,600 calorie thing that they were putting themselves through in Leningrad and all that. It is not good. This just because your body can do it doesn't mean it should do it. All right, what was my next question? Does the body better utilize amino acids from the body or from food? The body appears to utilize amino acids from both dietary sources and internal protein breakdown equally. Here's another thing. If you're eating a lot of protein, your body's not going to probably break down its own protein. Now, I don't know this for sure. I tried to look, couldn't really find it. But what the body does a lot of times is it will, now again, this thing's blowing out. Like hopefully the sound is somewhat agreeable in this one. The body will start taking degrading protein sources in your body and it will break them down into amino acids and it will start utilizing those amino acids again. But if you're constantly eating protein, amino acids, I don't know if it does that. And if it does it as efficiently, I don't know. If you're eating this stuff, it's not going to start breaking this stuff down in your body. And you're going to start noticing the C word more often. You're going to start noticing disease more often because the The process of doing this is very toxic. The process of gluconeogenesis, which you're going to be going through if you're eating too much of this, is toxic. And you're not going to be breaking down the parts of your body that the body should be breaking down to get those amino acids. So you're going to have more issues coming into this because you're only eating protein. Now, all those people watching the Bart K and all these other people who are well paid and promoted are going to be like, you're an idiot. One of the people, I couldn't believe it I saw that on one of his lives was a thread of people like, well, the cave, they show people eating animals in the cave drawings. I can find cave drawings of people with human dog heads and aliens coming down to it. I mean, if you're going to take that as doctrine, you're going to have to take both as doctrine. So apparently, they believe in all of this. It's just nuts to me. And then the last slide here, nutritional consequences of excess amino intake. So I'll read this, hopefully it goes well. Various mechanisms respond to intake of amino acids and excess of those required for normal tissue functions. When excessive amounts of amino acids are taken, metabolism by enzymes in the liver and elsewhere is accelerated when intake exceeds requirements. In addition, changes in the free amino acids levels in the brain signal the nervous system centers regulating food consumption and eating patterns are affected. The central nervous system mechanism may even determine the proportions of protein and energy, yielding nutrients chosen in the diet through a mechanism regulated by the entry of tryptophan and other neurotransmitters precursors into the brain. These observations on protective mechanisms are considered in relation to effects obtained by feeding disproportionate amounts of amino acids. Intakes of large amounts of amino acids can produce toxicities in which plasma concentrations of administered amino acids rise to very high levels. Antagonisms arise from feeding excess of one amino acid that can be relieved by feeding a structurally related amino acid. Finally, amino acid imbalances are produced by adding surpluses of essential amino acids other than the essential amino acids most limiting for growth. The growth oppression caused by this addition can be relieved by adding more of the most limiting amino acids in the diet, and all circumstances involving feeding with disproportionate amounts of amino acids. There is evidence of changes in brain amino acids levels. It is suggested that these changes play an important role in initiating protective responses against abnormal amino acid intake. This is just bad all the way around. And you can call me all the names you want to, say you're too fat to fit in your front door or whatever it is. It's ridiculous, whatever. I was on these high protein diets for 10 years. I still am struggling. And everybody's like, well, you said you would cure yourself on raw vegan. I hate raw vegan. I don't know what people don't understand about that statement. I don't like it. I can't stand it. I don't even have fruit in this house right now, matter of fact. Once in a while, I don't mind it. I get tired of it. Trying to figure out a way, One thing I will say is I have been forcing myself to eat in the morning, which I normally, as soon as I wake up, I'm like, oh, I got to get this done today. And I would start going to do that. Doesn't matter how hungry I am, got to get this thing done right now. So now I'm just stopping eating, and things have been better. A little bit. I've noticed some improvement. But this idea of a balanced diet, you have no idea what a balanced diet even looks like. You don't know what your body needs. You have no idea. You have no idea. It's erroneous. This whole thing started in 1971. Then this came around, the protein method in the 1970s. And then the food pyramid comes around. And blah, blah, blah. And they're like, the powers that be see these Minnesota starvation experiments, and they're like, well, we can make these people psychotic, and we can do whatever we want to if they're nuts. So we'll tell them they're fat, lazy, and they eat too much, and tell them to overexercise, make them work more, and then we'll just be able to do whatever the hell we want to, and they won't know anything. And then an even better thing, we'll create multiple different diets. We'll pay people over here to advertise these diets. And then we'll get them fighting each other over what diet's superior. And then we'll further be able to do whatever the hell we want to on this reptilian run landscape of ours. And it's just a mind fuck what's going on right now. It's insane what's going on right now. Believe me or not, it's irrelevant. Tell me how fat I am in the comments, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The reality of it is they play the long game, and you are too tired and exhausted to realize that they played the long game, and you're falling into the trap. We all have. And some more than the others. It's crazy. Nobody stops to think like, man, this channel got popular all of a sudden for no fucking reason. Wonder how that happened. Or this diet over here got real popular for what reason? I don't know. Who's behind them? Why were they eating 3,400 calories a day back in 1940 and they were skinny and didn't have many diseases? And then they start getting, even these same people from 1940s, if they made it into the 1980s, were starting to get told. I saw this happen. With my own family. It was crazy. Perfectly healthy people, in their 80s at their own houses. And then all of a sudden the doctor's like, well, you should do this and this and this. And all of a sudden this perfectly healthy person all of a sudden can't function anymore. And the next thing you know, they're dead. And I'm asking my parents about it. I'm like, this dude was like 84 and a 3-story house, or this woman, she was just fine. And then all of a sudden it happened to my grandfather, the one that I'm most like. I watched it happen. This dude was perfectly healthy. And then all of a sudden, his doctor's like, well, you shouldn't go outside anymore. You shouldn't be cutting the grass yourself. He was cutting his grass before he came over here. Now all of a sudden he can't cut his grass. I don't know why he listened, because he didn't listen to anybody. All of a sudden he starts listening to the doctor, and all of a sudden he's in a box in the ground. It just drives me nuts. Luckily he made it till his 80 something. Died the day after he was actually going to die on my birthday, but he held off. People in the comment section in the last video said that, it looks like he hates everybody and hates his even the people watching his channel. I guess there's some truth to that. There really is. But, there's only so much of getting told how, ridiculous or how fat I am and everything that I can handle before I'm like, dude, it's enough. I'm telling you my journey. This is my journey. If you don't like the journey, don't watch it. Go do your own. But I am also telling you that there's something amiss. You don't go from this 3,400 calories a day to 2,200 to 3,200 and then 1,500 as a normal if you're fat and don't have issues. I'm sorry. Read history. History tells you what's going on. If you read what actually happened in this 1,000 to 1,600 calories a day, it was bad. It was really bad. Most people died off of it, and the ones who didn't die off of it ate the people who did. And now they're telling you, this video is probably going to get super not monetized or whatever. The truth's got to get out there. This is ridiculous. And now they're trying to tell you to eat 1,500 calories a day and exercise. Don't forget your coffee, neurotoxin. Don't forget your caffeine pills, another neurotoxin. That's my video. That's my thoughts. Balanced diet is bullshit. If I sound angry lately, maybe I am. I don't know. I think it's because I really started looking into this stuff even more, and it's just so ridiculous what people are put through. But it's not, you buy it, you own it, you can't blame people for it. You were sold a bill of goods and you bought it and you keep buying it. And you get these sports events and they're just, it's the same damn thing they did in Rome. They built the Colosseum. Give them people in a coliseum and give them bread, and we'll just do what we're actually going to do in the background. These peons won't know. And they're literally doing it now. But it's even worse because they're adding preservatives. They're adding coloring in it. And, there's nothing wrong with this red 40. It's irradiated, cockroach penises. I have no idea what this stuff is, but it's ridiculous. Anyway, all I can do is give you the information. Comment section's always a free-for-all anymore. And people suggest in emails to me that to turn it off. I don't want to turn it off. I have noticed ever since I made certain videos that I've got a large hate section in my comments. I think that's all I have for this video. But thinking about balanced diet, just think about how ridiculous it is. It doesn't make any sense because you have no idea what your body needs. What you did yesterday is not the same what you did today. It's going to be different. Anyway. I think that's it. Talk to you in the next video. Comments, questions, like always, subscribe. And like the videos. Like I put a lot of effort in these. Like the videos.